So I'm going to go to presentation, and at the end, you can ask any questions that you would like to. Just know I do have a degree in nutrition, and I have a master's in teaching, so this is not my first rodeo with teaching. It's usually 12-year-olds, but I think we'll do good. So don't use my teacher voice. We see if you click, do we have a code word we want to use, Caroline? Click.
Oh, you can point at me.
Point at you. Okay. So by the end of this discussion and presentation, you're going to be able, this is our learning target. I can describe one way in which nutrition is connected to a disease. So we're going to start here, and at the end we'll bring it back around to connecting nutrients to different disease states. And I do have another handout at the end. So we get bombarded by lots of different nutrition from the internet, from TV commercials, from a favorite sports hero or actor telling you, I use this diet and it completely transformed my body, or I drink apple cider vinegar every day and my cholesterol is plummeted due to that. So we get lots and lots and lots of misleading messages. So let's watch this.
The government tells us we need to offer healthy choices in school lunches. But healthy, really? Is it? Or is this? This may surprise you. Welcome to the pizza farm. We're hard at work growing the ripe, juicy pizzas your kids love. What's here than this? Acres of pizza kissed by the sun, stretching as far as the eye can see. Fresh honey, straight from Mother Earth. Orchards of taquito trees, soaking up the minerals and vitamins from the sun before they come and deliver them straight to those school lunch trays.
Can I have one?
You want an apple?
Ew, no way.
Here you go. See, kids know what their bodies need.
I keep this off.
Go away. These fields produce hot, moist, sloppy joes all year round. It's the nutrients in the cola we use to water them. Oh, mother milk. We are kids to eat healthy, all-natural food. So pushing gross fruits and vegetables on them and let them dig into a fresh-picked bushel of hot, flaky fish fingers.
Yeah, I can't get these to on the branches.
Listen, if it's on a plant, it's good for you. That's how it got there. Fries are practically salads, which is why I like mine with ranch.
This is an obvious exaggeration, but it's just an example of how we get all of these misleading information from all of these different sources that are up to today with the internet, with movies, with movies even. So it's just an example of how crazy some of this information can be. Some of it can seem very real. So what we'll do is I want to get back to the very, very basics of nutrition. Thank you. And about what portions look like. We're going to talk about what serving sizes look like. We're going to talk about what your plate should look like when you sit down to dinner, and then bring that back to specific nutrients so that we can use a nutrition label to see what kind of nutrients can keep us healthy out of these disease states and may reverse some of these disease states. That portion and serving size first. So what in the last 20 years portion size? Who can tell me? What has it changed? We're not all 20, so I know some of us have been around for more than 20 years. So what are our portion sizes? They're restaurants. They're super size, right? So what we're really quick is we're going to take a quiz and see how those have been super sized. Some distortion. just like super size. So 20, you would go to a little lunch counter, and you would have a 210 calorie half-ounce portion of fries. How much do you think a portion of fries weighs these days?
6 ounces.
6 ounces? How many calories do you think? Compare that based on that.
About 5.
500. Let's see what it looks like. So 10 calories, average serving size these days at a restaurant, 6.9 ounces. So that calorie difference in an hour and a half of leaf raking, for example, just to burn that extra calories from the French fry. Years ago, to a restaurant, and you would get a normal-looking size sandwich that you would perhaps make at home. 3 calories. Today, you get something about as big as your head when you serve a sandwich at a restaurant. So how calories do you think perhaps is in a turkey sandwich?
800.
Let's see if we're close. Excellent. So to burn off those extra 500 calories, we have for almost 2 hours. That's a time to burn off that many calories. All right, let's look at the next example. Soda. What's a normal size soda these days, do you think? I typically see people carrying around, and that's in the day, 6.5 ounce soda was in a bottle, about 85 calories. How much calories in the 20 ounces? Math wizards?
200.
About 60. Excellent. So right under 250, 260. I even checked that math. That's right. And that 5 minutes of painting to burn off that extra calories of soda. Okay? So smarter choice. Many of the local restaurants have changed their small size option to a whopping 64 ounces. Correct. And it's great for the consumer. More bang for the buck. We're putting bargains on trial here. How do the same person call that small? If a customer truly wants a smaller size, there is an option. Oh, do you mean a little shallow? Would you buy that? Some little size houses. But they're not very popular. I mean, for only a nickel more, you get 64 ounces. Well, Punchburger just recently came out with a new 128 ounce option. Most people call it again, but they call it regular. There's a horrifying 512 ounce version called child size. How is it child size? Well, it's roughly the size of a 2-year-old child. It's a real bargain at $159. I'm so Pinewood, but why would anybody need this much soda? It's not my place to speak for the consumer, but everyone should buy it. So portion sizes have become so distorted in our society that even teachers are making fun of them. That's very how ridiculous some of the portion sizes that we get these days are. So what do real portion sizes look like? We need that label, which we'll discuss a little bit. What does a portion look like? Let me see. Do you have a hand in this room? Can I see? You'll be able to tell the portion size of any food by hand. So if you get the little guide that I handed out. For an extra one. Oh, yeah. Get one. Because you have a hand, anywhere you go, you would be able to tell the proportion looks like. So this great guide says you just memorize it. You can keep this copy of this. So talking about a serving of vegetables. Who ate a serving of fruit? A serving of fruit is the size of your fist. Did you eat a serving of it? Back there. Excellent. You're looking at butter. Serving is the thumb, 2 tablespoons. The top of your thumb is 1 tablespoon. The part makes up the 2. So the way if pouring salad dressing at a restaurant, 2 tablespoons is a serving size. Keep that in mind. Talking about your protein, your fish, any protein that you're eating, that size of your palm. And everybody's palm is different, but that's a good gauge for you to be able to decide how much meat should I be eating at dinner time. I'm looking at a teaspoon, tip of your finger. So you've got a teaspoon of sugar that you're adding to a beverage. Be about that much. Is a serving size of nuts, not piled up until they're falling off of the side, but a little bit resting in the cup. So the spoon again, tip of your tablespoon, tip of your thumb, 2 tablespoons, your entire thumb. Served cheese is about the size of your 2 fingers. And then your protein, about the size of your palm. Pasta starches, half up, so half of your fist. So we've got vegetables and fruits, your whole fist. Pasta and starches, half of that fist. And again, just mention that again, a cup for your cooked vegetables. So that's a great thing to keep in mind when you get served a plate of food at a restaurant that is maybe that large. And those are serving sizes are way, way, way too big. Please. Now you need to know what real servings look like to be able to discern a nutrition label. Does anybody look at nutrition labels when they good, very good. Do you use anything besides the calories? Nutrients. What else? What things do you look at when you're looking at the? Excellent, good. So we're going to break this down and figure the good parts and the bad parts, or good things and the bad things. So we're going to quick go through this. I'll stop this video at 1 minute and 28 seconds. That's all we need.
Big nerd, what's the best way to start improving my health? Is there a calorie counting app? Shop Whole Foods? Maybe eating my local booty boot camp? Well, actually, esteemed reader, one of the best ways to improve your health quickly is learning how to read nutrition labels. These labels contain some complex science and mathematical equations, but they're really not that scary. Let's walk through how to properly read these things. First thing you'll notice is at the top of the nutrition facts are the serving size and servings per container. This is simply the amount in the package or container. It's explanatory. Next, you have the ingredients. Everything inside these black lines is representative of one serving. This is important to understand because next you'll see the calories and the calories from fat. This is pretty much the only thing most people ever look at, and this is a common mistake. If a package says 200 calories on the bag of chips, but the servings per container say 2.5, that means there's actually 500 calories in the bag. This is a little marketing trick that you should be aware of. Pressing on, you will see the total fat on the package along with the number and percentage on the right-hand side. This represents the total fat in one serving, and the percentage represents the percentage based on a 2,000 calorie diet. So 8 grams is 12% of a 2,000 calorie diet. I also remind you that fat is not bad for you, and there are plenty of healthy foods that are high in fat. What you really want to watch out.
Thank you, Caroline. So if you'll turn for handy little brochure, I've got an example of a label that's broken down by kind of areas as to what to look at and what's important and why each area is important. I've got a nutrition label from a container of eggs. You kind of look at the two and compare them and see what it is we should be looking at. So start here. You're going to see the serving size and the per container. The next are calories. So it says check calories. So it's 70 calories. How many calories am I going to consume if I eat 3 eggs? So always keep in mind that serving size. There's been some changes made on packaging. About a can of Coke used to be 2 servings. Who opens Coke and drinks half of it and saves the rest for later? So they made some adjustments to make it clearer on serving size, but it still can be very misleading. So you need to check not only the serving size, the calories per serving size. The next that you want to look at is to limit these nutrient sections. I said that they were looking at fat and sodium and those things that can affect health states. What some maybe some disease states that could be affected by fat. We'll get into this at the end, but I'd like to kind of hear what you've got to say. Anything? Can help you put weight on. Diabetes. So you've got to keep an eye on those things. What about sodium? What kind of things can sodium affect?
Blood pressure.
Excellent. So you limit that fat. You want to limit that cholesterol and less sodium. And on there it says get enough of these. So you add sodium has potassium in it, but you want enough of these nutrients. These are things that are good for the body, obviously, for reasons. Calcium, does anybody know what calcium is good for? Strong bones, exactly. Vitamin C. Iron. What is iron good for in your body? Good, in your blood. Good, but what does it do? Are any athletes in here? Not anymore. So iron is that component of your blood that carries the oxygen. So it's very important to keep your cells oxygenated with that iron, getting the oxygen to all the different portions of your body. Moving on that right-hand side of the nutrition label are your percent daily value. And those are, can anybody explain that? Do you understand?
Percent of a record
Okay, the percent of a recommended guideline for what?
for 1 calories.
For per day, and it could be 14 for that day. So this is saying that is at 5 grams, 8% of the amount of fat that I should have. How do I know what that total amount of fat I should have is? You can look here. 2-calorie diet, just know what that's based off of. Why do they use 2,000 calories? The average man would need 1,000 calories a day. A very active, larger, might more, someone like me, would probably need less. So this just gives you a framework, a guideline to go by, but it's not set in stone exactly perfect for everyone's body. But it's an idea. So a 1,000-calorie diet, 5 grams of fat is 8% fat that person needs a day. Is the amount that person should have. All nutrition labels have that footnote section, and now you're going to get that information where if I'm looking at 5 grams of fat, 8% of daily value, how much total should I get? I don't math. So look down here to tell me about 65 grams. I probably need a little less because I'm small than the calorie person. So that comes from. The very bottom, calories per gram, that's listed on most of them as well, not the one in here. But these calories are in each gram of fat, so or carbohydrate or protein. So if you look at 5 grams times calories, we've got 40 calories from fat. So that's where that comes from. Apple has 7 calories per gram in alcohol. So it's a given standard number, how many calories are contained in each of those substances. Any nutrition label, I'll ask it at the end. All right, moving on.
So usually, I will.
Sure.
Or should hold it to the end.
Pin it down and hold it to the end. That would be great. Thank you. Thank you. Let's look back. We're going to kind of come to these specific nutrients. So let's out our plate and what it looks like when we sit down to dinner or lunch. Gov has this extremely simplified. I love when they came out with this. I think Michelle Obama rolled this out when she became the first lady and had a lot to do with talking about student nutrition and school lunches. But really a simple diagram of something that we see every day, which is our dinner plate. So think back to our hand and portion size guideline. Set up that plate so we can have out that much fruit, servings of vegetables, about a grain, about a half of a fist, pasta starch, and protein is our palm. So relate those two things together, the portion sizes and what your plate should look like. You shouldn't have a hunk of meat. My friend texted me, I did not. He took a picture of steak last night. It was big as my foot, maybe bigger. So it was far out of proportion. And he claims to be a vegan too, right? And as far as your dairy goes, look on that serving size. It's, I think, 8-ounce glass of milk is serving. I don't drink, so I couldn't speak to that perfectly, but I believe that I encourage you to measure portions. If you got especially liquids, weights of things, did you eat any veggie sticks?
Yeah, I did.
How much of a serving you ate?
About that.
It's about serving. So a way to give myself an idea, I food. I have a food scale at home, very simple, very inexpensive. Surprised at how much cereal or pasta or potato chips that you're eating when you're kind of either reaching and eating blindly out of the bag, or you're just plunging onto your plate without kind of eyeballing that first. And I've weighed my granola so much I can eyeball it, but I'm eating probably 3.5 servings of granola every day. Granola is super high in calories, and I realize it, and I have a background in it, and I still didn't realize it until I got my food scale. So I highly recommend getting one of those. All right. Beans and fats. If you turn to the of that paper, we're going to do this really quick. It's going to go over these 3 minutes, and then we'll discuss them.
Carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Carbs. These are the body's main source of energy. There are 2 types of carbohydrate, starch, and simple sugar, stored by the liver and muscles until they are needed. These are made of amino acids which the body needs to make from food and help the body grow and repair itself. For example, after working out and lifting weights, proteins are needed in order to repair muscle and grow stronger. Fatty acids and glycerol. Fats body warm, protect organs and assist certain organs in absorbing vitamins. Some are divided into 2 types of cholesterol, high or low density lipoproteins. LDLs are good for the body as they help it remove the excess LDLs.
Thank you. Who can tell me a good carbohydrate?
Spaghetti.
So pasta. What's another one? Bread. That's a good one. Brown rice one. That's a good one. What are carbohydrates?
Pizza crust.
Where's double cheese pizza when you want it, right? And then examples. Fruits. Why are fruits carbohydrates?
Yeah.
Exactly. Good point. So we often think of just bread or just pastas containing carbohydrates, but anything that has a sugar in it is going to be have carbohydrates in it. So excellent as well. They can be carbohydrates. All right, what about proteins? What are some examples of proteins? Meat, first thing that comes to mind, my friend's steak that was as big as my foot. Nuts, excellent.
Beans.
Beans, legumes. Cheese, protein. Eggs, protein, excellent. Fat. I keep asking you questions.
Smash. Meat has fat.
Meat in it. So some meats are fattier than others. Excellent point, and we'll talk about that a little bit later once we get into more specific nutrients. What else?
Cheese.
Cheese. Filled with fat. Filled. What vegetable do you know? Avocados. Excellent. Avocados are very high in fat. Butter, yes. Avocados has a very good fat, though. It's good for polyunsaturated fatty acids. It's really good for your heart, but I digress. How about cheesecake? Is that a good fat? Cookies? Yeah. Good. There are some sources of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. So let's look and see what these are for. What are the role of these in our diet? So look at the bottom of that sheet. Read the first set blank with the appropriate nutrient. Who thinks they can figure out what that? Great. Do you mind reading the whole sentence?
The role of carbohydrates is to provide energy as
They are the body's main source of fuel, physical activity, brain function, and operation of the organs. Energy.
So excellent. If you know anybody who runs or the general population, you'll notice that runs fuel on carbohydrates the day before a race. And that's because it's going to give them that long-term energy. So we have to have all of these nutrients in our diet to some degree. So carbohydrates. What about that second sentence? What belongs? The whole sentence. I'm going to make you. Oh, yeah. Teacher for head. Thank you.
Proteins, begins with protein cells, are required for the structure, function, and regulation of the body's tissues.
Excellent. So the proteins, you are injured, if you're sick, if you're an adolescent and you are growing, which we clearly have passed that phase. Protein is what that will build new cells and fuel the building of new cells. So it's going to grow and repair your body. And finally, I think we can figure out what goes in that last one. Would somebody like to read that for me, please?
Fat up energy, absorbs certain nutrients, and maintains your body core temperature. Energy storage and nutrient retention.
Perfect. So storage from our man days, we hold on that fat for fuel for when we can't find food. We do not have that problem of not being able to find food. So for us, it's just a backup source of energy, and sometimes it's hard for us to keep that off. Fat is the absorption of several vitamins. Vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin A, D, E, K are absorbed with the help of fat. So it's necessary. If you have someone who's dieting, so to cut all the fat out of my diet, that's very unhealthy. We need all of these things for our bodies to function properly. I hand out one more guide before I talk about. You would pass those way. And you would pass those that way. So we'll look at these nutrition, or these nutrients. We touched on how certain nutrients can affect the disease state. So we're going to see nutrients. I've done the very high level, could be a little bit, but we'll discuss more after the presentation about these specific nutrients and any specific questions that you have. I will do my best to answer those. So our vegetables, vital for health and maintenance of your body. So now, of course, I didn't keep one. Sorry. Thank you. I got it. Thank you. So what in looking at this brochure, what's something good in vegetables with these states? Glance over. What kind of are is it saying that it's good for? Excellent. Thank you. Fruits are an excellent source of fiber. They kind of think of that as pulling out of your body, pushing it through, like move along, let's get on out. So that fiber is going to help eliminate the all in your, so it can help with heart disease. It can help with heart attacks and strokes. So those kind of things are good. The vegetables are full of nutrients. We were talking about vitamin A and vitamin D and all of those positive nutrients on the nutrition label. And sometimes vitamins are going to help with cancers or preventing or protecting against cancers. Not easy, obviously, but it's going to improve your health. Fiber as well is going to help, if anybody's ever been on a low-carb diet, help pull it gets tracked more quickly to deabsorption. Does that make sense? Food is going to be in there for less time and less of a chance for some absorption of things that could be bad. It's going to help with regulating body weight, which helps with heart disease, obesity, diabetes, and One at the bottom, you'll see potassium is for your blood pressure as well. So would you like to read this screen, please? Love you're joining in. Volunteer you?
Oh, I thought you pointed to somebody.
No,
already.
no, I'm going to make you read
sure.
it.
Eating grains, especially whole grains, provides health benefits. People who eat whole grains, as part of a healthy diet, have a reduced risk of chronic diseases, of some chronic diseases. Grains provide many nutrients that are vital for health and maintenance of our bodies.
All right. Does anybody know why we say whole grain? I heard mention of a whole grain bread earlier. Why is bread better than, say, Wonder white bread?
Yeah,
Not processed. So when it's processed, we're getting that fiber from that plant. If you're eating instant oatmeal, instead of steel cut or the full 5-minute cook oats, the more processed that oatmeal, the more has been taken away, essentially. So it's good to keep that fiber, keep that food as whole as possible. And you see that that fiber from our handout is then going to help with cholesterol because it's taking that stuff out of the body. Lower cholesterol will be helping with your heart disease. That's helping with weight control or obesity and in turn type 2 diabetes. A lot of these things are interconnected and fiber plays a huge role in that. You can also see in the handout, it's filled with B vitamins, riboflavin. All of these things are good for your metabolism. They release energy from protein, from fats, and vitamins are also very good for your nervous system. Read this, read.
Great. Parts food in the meat, poultry, fish, eggs, nuts, and seed group provide nutrients that are vital for health maintenance of your body. However, foods from this group that are high in saturated fat and cholesterol have health implications.
I've read that from back there. My eyes are not that. But we said this before, lean meat, lower in saturated fat. So when you go to the grocery store, think you've seen the ground beef, and some of it's 70-30, some of 80-20, some of it's 93. Does anybody know what that means, those numbers? Percent. So that's 80-20 and higher in fat than a more lean 93% or 87% fat. So we have to choose things that are lower in that saturated fat.
And just cook off though? You strain it?
Some can, but you're also going to get less product. So down to also a monetary issue. So if you bought a pound of the 70-30, you're going to cook off a lot of fat. You could strain it and mop it up with those fat mops, but then you got it at the end, so you don't really get a full pound of meat. So that I could discuss that all. So anyway, so our saturated fat, if you remember that video where the HDL, the HDL was crashing into the LDL, the saturated fats are what giving your body that LDL or low density lipoprotein fat. Low density, I think it's lipoprotein. Okay, so HDL fats, so our avocados, saturated fatty acids, are what's crashing into those other LDLs, the low density lipoproteins, and picking them up and pushing them out. So HDL fats are good fats. Those are contained in our leaner choices. LDL fats are the saturated fats, trans fats. If you've anybody heard of trans fats in products, and it's really cool now to not have trans fats in the product. Trans fats are a chemically altered fat that will mimic saturated fat in your body. So it's a light saturated fat in that it's not very good for you. So margarines these days have that saturated or that trans fat component. It's really cheap to make, and that's why it's being used in food products. But it turns out that butter is actually way healthier healthier than margarine with trans fats in it. Again, a whole other story. I can talk for days. All right, and finally, our we on dairy. I mentioned this, and this was male, and this is more a to do with osteoporosis and vitamin D and calcium. But it's still good for men as well to keep an eye on their calcium intake. Potassium, we mentioned before, is good for healthy blood pressure, so especially for bone health. And then we mentioned before that there was a source of protein, vitamin D. What's a source of vitamin D that you might not think of that's non-nutrient? Excellent. 15 minutes, case exposure is all the vitamin D you need in the day. So keep in mind, they do fortify with that, but in the winter around here are deficient vitamin D because of the great, the great season of winter in this area. I think excellent. I'm going to stop that. I'll entertain questions. So just to give you a little background